Hi, my name's Duncan. I work for Staffordshire Wildlife Trust as part of the Wilder Stoke, Wilder Newcastle project. Today we're looking at hedgerows. Hedgerows are a really important wildlife feature and wildlife habitat. And they can not only be a useful resource for people and for communities, in the sense of this time of year we've got berries, we've got fruits, things like rose hips that can be used for foraging, but for a wildlife habitat they provide all sorts of ecological niches for various different species. They're also what we tend to class as a wildlife corridor. So lots of animals like to move along hedgerows and it can help them to colonise or recolonise different areas. Hedgerows as well are a vital resource for nesting birds. You can see, looking at this hedgerow, that it's nice and dense. It's got some good structure low, which would be great for things like wrens and robins, but it's also got quite dense regrowth, which would be ideal for things like warblers or blackbirds. So when we look at a typical hedge, it's going to contain many species. Traditionally as well, hedgerows would have always had one or two thorn species. And we've got this in this hedgerow here. We've got dog rose with the rose hips, which is a great source of food for mammals, and also the flowers are great for pollinators. We've also got hawthorn in here. Hawthorn flowers, great for pollinators. The berries as well are a really important food source for birds. As we move through, we've got blackthorn. So this is where you get your sloes from. We've got an apple tree here, but this is a small standard in front of the hedgerow. And then over here we've got a couple more species. We've got field maple, we've got hazel, another really good food source for mammals and birds because this is where we get our hazelnuts from. And then as we move through over here, we've got Guelder rose as well with these lovely red berries. So here we are at the base of a hedgerow. When it comes to hedgerow management, we tend to cut hedgerows on a rotation. And like most tree work, it occurs later in the year after the bird nesting season. It tends to be kind of September, October onwards through the winter when most trees or deciduous trees are dormant, so the sap is not running. This hedgerow has had a typical management technique which you'll see a lot in the countryside, which is traditional hedge laying. Hedge laying is a very old form of hedgerow management. It produces really dense hedgerows, which is great for wildlife, but it was originally used for keeping in livestock. Combine that with your blackthorn and your hawthorn, it makes a very thorny, very dense, impenetrable hedge, which is great for keeping in livestock. When we hedge lay, basically what we do is we are cutting the main stem of the hedge plant, almost so you cut all the way through. We want to keep one side intact with the roots, so some living material still in contact with the roots, and then we lay the hedge down flat. It's then held in place by stakes, and then depending on where you are in the country, there is a traditional pattern of binding at the top, which differs from county to county. Once the hedge has been laid, the natural reaction when spring comes is that freshly laid hedge will then start to grow upwards towards the light, and that's what creates that really dense hedgerow. We've got the layers of the felled trunk going that way, and then the new growth will grow up. And for a hedgerow like this, at this location, it also gives us loads of useful resources because we've got hazel in here, and when it comes to cutting this hedgerow again on rotation, we're going to get lovely long straight pieces of hazel which we can use for a variety of different tasks, including using them for stakes for the next lot of hedge laying.